So a lot of people are still of the mindset that this would be selling out and they don't want regulation and they want decentralization, and that's not the purpose of Bitcoin. But you have to realize, this is my opinion. Nobody has a right or wrong opinion here with regulation or not. It's just an opinion, and there can be two different ones, and neither one is more valid than the other. But from my opinion, the reason that so many people now know about Bitcoin compared to 2016, think about the exponential amount of more people that know about it. Number one, from news coverage, from Google searches. It's because of the price action. So that's the incentive for people to learn about this. Oh, I can make money. I better learn about this. It's just the way that it happened. And I can't foresee a scenario right now. Yes, Bitcoin can get some upgrades. It can get faster. It can, improve itself, but I can't foresee widespread adoption of Bitcoin. Everybody's already heard about it. If the price continues to fade and we don't have regulation and we don't have institutional money coming in, the price is going to fluctuate around, a couple $1,000s and continue to fade. And where do we go from there? What's going to be the spark that has everybody say, oh yeah, I heard about Bitcoin, but now is when I'm going to put a significant amount of my net worth or assets or capital into Bitcoin because what? Because it's faster transaction speed now? That's not going to be enough to do it. To get widespread adopted, in my opinion, it's going to have to hold the hand of the government. If you don't want it to get widespread adopted and you're fine with the price not really doing a whole lot and people not talking about it and it from fading from, people's topics of conversation, that's fine. That's what would probably happen if we have no regulation and if this is as far as it goes in terms of the institutional investors. The opposite side of things, in my opinion, is they regulate the exchanges that it's traded on. They regulate the instruments like the ETFs that trade it. Think about it. We're not regulating Bitcoin. We're not regulating the blockchains. We're not regulating the core fundamentals of Bitcoin. We're regulating the instruments that Bitcoin is traded with. So it's giving the access to investors to put in significant capital, to increase the price, to get people interested, to get people talking about it, to get people learning about what it is, the fundamentals. And I mean, just seeing the views that we have seen on YouTube, by the way, thanks everybody for watching. Hit 6 million views yesterday on the YouTube channel. Our YouTube channel right now would probably have millions of less views if we did not see the price action on Bitcoin and these cryptocurrencies that was led by the huge run up in price. And that huge run up in price was a lot of big money and a lot of stock traders getting involved in the game. It's as simple as that. So I will use my Fidelity account to trade this ETF with a lot more capital than I am willing to put on these exchanges. When you put money on these exchanges, it's hurdles for everybody to get involved. You have to make an account on a website. You have to wonder, can I trust this website? You have to protect your keys and your hard wallets, and all of that is eliminated. It is easy street for everybody in the country and the world to get a piece of Bitcoin if there is an ETF and have no risk. So I looked at the risk of Fidelity and I saw, what happens if you get hacked? And pretty much they say that if you follow their guidelines and you have their steps on what to do to secure your account and you get hacked, they're going to give you your money back. So I'm willing to risk hundreds of % more money on Fidelity than I am on GDAX or any other exchange. And I know I'm not the only one. If you're talking people with millions of dollars, it is going to be the exact same thing. Maybe they'd risk, $100,000 on one of these exchanges, but if you give them access on their Fidelity account or stock trading account, they're going to be willing to put a significant amount more capital on the line because they don't have to touch the crypto. They don't have to, worry about the security. That's all in somebody else's hands, the asset manager. So I do believe that it will have a significant impact on the price. And if the price is going up, people are going to still keep talking about it. There's still going to be articles. Yes, if none of this happens, behind the scenes, the fundamentals will continue to progress. But again, I cannot imagine that those Bitcoin fundamentals of faster transactions and things like that are going to be enough to tip the scales towards widespread adoption. That's just my opinion. There we go. What is this list that I have been talking in front of for a long time? So this is the proposal on the SEC website, and these are the comments on this proposal. And you can see there's only been a couple dozen. A bunch of people now were bringing it to our attention. So a member posted about this, then I posted it on Twitter. So probably tomorrow when July 11th updates, we're going to see, another 100. And if 7,000 to 10,000 people are watching this video, if we don't get at least a couple hundred from this video, I'm going to be disappointed in you all. But it takes 5 minutes. Do I think that these comments have an impact on whether or not we're going to see this approval? No, I don't. But if there's a 1% chance that it does and it takes me 5 minutes to do this, I'm absolutely going to do it because it takes 5 minutes. So it's a little bit tricky how to do it. I'm going to put a step-by-step process in the comments of this video. And again, if you got 5 minutes and if you want to see the price of Bitcoin go up, and if you want to see, institutional investors get involved, then you should comment on this because it can't hurt. And be respectful and professional, because some of these people are clowns and leaving comments that are certainly not going to help. But again, probably not going to matter, but it could. Pretty much essentially what our voting system is and what our comments to our representatives are. So either way, we'll see. August 10th, keep an eye on things. So let's go to Bitcoin. Bitcoin has not done anything on the hourly time frame on this bounce. This bounce is just a straight line across, exponential resistance, rejecting the price. And look at this resistance level. This is the clear resistance level where we've rejected 5 times on this bounce attempt within a $15 range. So between 63,095, let's try that again, $6,395 and $6,410. We have rejected 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 times. So clearly we have to break this resistance level for the bulls to do anything on this bounce or see any follow through. We have seen bulls buying these dips, but we have not seen any bull follow through. So this is giving us a tight range. The 4-hour time frame is trading sideways. The RSI has cooled off on all of these time frames, the hourly and the 4-hour. Could we see another leg down? Absolutely. You need to prepare for the potential of another leg down. We have a clear base of support, 62.79. We've held that level within a $10 range 4 times. So essentially, we have 4 bases of support and 5 rejections from resistance. And that's our channel for all of today. And it's giving us a daily inside bar. And actually, it is an inside bar. So this daily inside bar is going to break tomorrow. If it breaks bearish, the odds of an equilibrium will increase significantly because the odds, or I should say the distance the bulls have to make back to the upside is very significant to see a higher high in continuation. So if we break down, we're looking at 6,000 psychological support as a potential level for the bulls to show up. If we break bullish, that's going to give the bulls a little bit of hope that maybe we can trade sideways and see enough of the right shoulder. Again, the inverse. This was scenario 3 of the video yesterday that I pointed out, the potential scenarios. If we get a right shoulder and a bull break of this double top neckline, that would be a clear bull signal in the short term. But we're going to have to see the price make its way back to 6,800 with some steady 4-hour higher lows and higher highs and some recovery into the weekend. So the bulls have not shown us anything yet, absolutely nothing. And they're going to have to do so in order for us to be looking towards a recovery of 6,800. I need to see a break of 6,410, and then we're looking up at 6,473 and 6,500 psychological. So that's where we stand. We'll also be watching the 4-hour exponential resistance. If the bulls do get the bull break, that resistance is going to be right there. We're on the verge of a bull MAC decross, but obviously not going to happen if we don't get that bull break. So sideways trading straight across. Ethereum on the hourly time frame got a bull break this morning, and so did Litecoin. But again, they're not going to go very far without Bitcoin following along for that correlation. So we do have much more space. We do have a higher low to work with on the hourly time frame. But in terms of breaking out and seeing a significant bounce, have to see Bitcoin break those 5 tops in order for these other names to follow along. Support is 433.33 and 425.34. Resistance is the top of the bounce at 447.16. The 4-hour time frame, we can see we have our low of the dump, high of the bounce, higher low, and the bulls are trying for a higher high, but the exponential resistances are standing in the way. So the daily chart here, it's not an inside bar because we dropped to a lower low, but the bulls are attempting this daily higher low. And because the Ethereum pullback is more significant on the daily than Bitcoin is, we can already say that best case scenario for the bulls is probably going to be a daily equilibrium with the bounce, if we get follow through, forming a lower high and then pulling back to have to form a higher low and then break the lower high pattern favoring those bulls. So the bulls are attempting to build a support. They have not given any kind of follow through yet. Same situation as Bitcoin, and we're patiently waiting on these hourly and 4-hour time frames for a more clear break in the range. Litecoin has some news with partnerships that is leading to a little bit more strength, but again, same deal. We got a very significant bull break that Bitcoin didn't get anywhere near as much of that bull break, but we faded back because Bitcoin did not follow along. So gave a lot of that move back. We have some support here at 77, actually it's 76.01. Then we're looking down at 75.60 and then on down towards the low of 74.51. And this, of course, was news for this reason for Litecoin. But when we see extreme oversold conditions in the 4-hour time frame, more often than not, Litecoin has been the bounce leader out of Bitcoin, Litecoin, and Ethereum. So just keeping that in mind on bounce plays. But right now, what this setup does do on the daily time frame is bulls and bears don't have to be worried about anything. They can take a patient approach and a more longer term time frame approach where I can say, all right, if I want to go bullish on Bitcoin, I don't need to worry about anything. Maybe I can bottom fish down here. The odds of me being able to stay in this trade with a bottom fish are not very likely at this point because we haven't seen any bullish action. But I can just basically say, well, I can wait patiently for this tightening range on the daily that I'm anticipating to give me a clear break and a clear signal. And you know that there's bears waiting in the wings for a bearish entry opportunity on some exponential resistances, as well as this Bitcoin clear wall of resistance on the hourly time frame, which at this point is a quintuple top. So bears are comfortable. They don't have to worry about much. If we drop down another leg, still anticipating that Bitcoin and these names are going to hold their recent low, but every drop down that we see decreases the odds that we're going to change any momentum on the daily time frame, and it increases the odds of a potential weekly bear flag, which is still a possibility. And the lack of increasing bull volume on the confirmation candlestick was also notable. And this week, it looks like we're going to see very low volume yet again. So we're consistently seeing this volume drop off in the cryptocurrency space. It is going to be a big spike when it happens, when we break this pattern, but it's not breaking at this point. On to BNB, weekly time frame is shifting. We're close to losing the uptrend that has been holding on this weekly time frame for months and months at this point. The most important support level for me is down here at 1174 and 1160. So let's call it 1160. I thought those levels were closer. So it's 1160. We just bounced off of 1213. So we are still holding the weekly higher low pattern, but we're testing these support levels now. We had some very clear day breaks, daily chart breaks. We had our double bottom here. And this is actually, I want to go to BNB USDT. A little bit different. Not much, but this was the level that needed to hold for the bulls to remain in full control. And we obviously did not hold that level. So we broke it, we bounced and set just another lower high, and then we dumped down significantly. So it was a pretty clear bearish entry. You could have gone bearish on the initial break and then just been patient. You could have gone bearish on this daily inside bar bear break on another leg down by breaking 1314. And so 1212. So I had those levels wrong just then. So here's the weekly level on BNB USDT on Binance. So the support is 1161 on the weekly, and we got down to 1212. So we are still holding it. It's just different levels from what I just told you. And we're patiently waiting. Any bounce, anything under 1430 is just another lower high. It's going to be up to the bulls to prove themselves by changing this daily trend to save this weekly uptrend. But right now, the odds are favoring a break of the weekly uptrend unless the bulls can do something significant in terms of changing the trend. The 4-hour bounce that's trying to play out, we have our low of the dump, our high of the bounce, higher low, and we got our equilibrium forming. So you can make a play on this equilibrium as well, whether it's a bullish or bearish entry for a shorter term time frame. Otherwise, if I were looking at a bearish entry on the daily, I would want to wait for a little bit more of a bounce, perhaps around exponential resistance, which we rejected from last time. And if I'm looking for a bullish entry, it would be potentially on this 4-hour equilibrium bull break if we get it. But I would want to see other crypto names break bullish as well. Correlation to Bitcoin certainly has not been strong on BNB, but can't hurt to have other names in the space giving some hope for the bulls, and to have the sector as a whole bullish, which obviously we haven't seen in quite some time. But if Bitcoin, I'm just speaking short term, if Bitcoin breaks this 5 top on the hourly, can only help BNB USDT, in my opinion, to try and break its resistance as well. So overall, bottom line, we were very bearish at the end of yesterday's video talking about another leg down. We got another leg down. Didn't see a whole lot of follow through, which isn't surprising because the hourly RSI was already down at 20. But the bulls have proven nothing since this rejection. So back at 6 p.m. on July 9th, 2 days ago, bulls have done nothing. So have to keep it in mind, have to say it like it is. That's how it is. And the bulls need to prove it to us. And they need to show us some volume and some breaks of resistance for this bounce to get going. Daily inside bar on watch into tomorrow, and we'll see which direction that breaks. As far as the ETF goes, I don't expect it to have an effect anytime soon. I expect it to have a minor effect in the week or two leading up to August 10th as some hopeful bulls try and get in and hope to see the price explode. If we do get the approval on August 10th, depending on how much the price runs up into that event, I do believe that we will see a 10% day. 10% plus kind of day, which we have not seen in a long time. Last time we saw that was April, when the weekly or the daily equilibrium drew out for 9 or 11 days and then it broke bullish. Then we saw 10% gains. This is the kind of move where I would expect 10% because all the shorts are going to cover and all the bulls are going to be buying, and it's going to see the price surge if that were to happen. I said 40, 60. It's probably not that high. That's probably optimistic. If we're going to be realistic here with other names getting rejected, who knows, maybe 25%, 33%, whatever. It's all just numbers out of thin air. So it's not likely. It's less likely than likely. Otherwise, the price would have reacted bullish when we found out August 10th was the date we were going to find out about it. But if it surprises the market, you better believe we're going to see a big time price increase in response to that. So let's now get into story time. Again, don't forget to follow through and comment on what the post I'm going to give with the steps for commenting on that proposal by the SEC. Cannot hurt. So Adventure Time ended off still on the farm. There's the goats eating some bamboo in the winter. Nice that it kept its foliage for them to munch on as all the other foliage was gone. So in the winter, we just feed them, whether the food that you buy and some kale and things like that we can grow in the winter. But bamboo is a nice resource to have, and especially building with it, all kinds of things you can build with it. And the shoots, the little shoots that come up in the spring, you can cut those and pickle them or cook them up, and nice and edible as well. So was talking about how we would have all these parties and have all these people over and musicians and all that at the same time that I'm starting the Chart Guys. So I started the Chart Guys and didn't think it would be anything, thought maybe a couple dozen people would be interested and we would have a little bit of a group and that would be fun. And then it blew up, and then crypto blew it up again. So it very quickly started to shift my focus from all farming and very little trading to way more trading and little farming. So I definitely scaled back on that, scaled up. I had to leave. So I was trying to do live webcam and live streaming like I do now every day, trying to do that from the farm with everybody there. And the internet was terrible with everybody else using it. And the noise was an issue. Everybody had to be quiet because Dan was live. I didn't like that at all. And so I was going to leave. My options were buy a house, go rent a house, and then option 3 was unknown, which we'll talk about in just a moment. So I went out looking and I looked at a few places. And because of the mountains around the area, the internet was just no good. I had to use satellite internet, and you can't use satellite internet and go live because any little blip and it cuts you out. Whereas, if you're directly connected to the Ethernet, to your modem, to cable, it is a lot faster. So I had to turn down 2 or 3 places that were good to go, a spot on a lake house and things like that, all because of internet. So I said, all right, what am I going to do? So I looked out back and there was a shed, the kind of shed that you keep a lawnmower in, probably 8 feet by 10 feet. So I cleaned out the shed. The roof was falling in a little bit. And I said, I'm going to live out here and make this my office. So I had the internet people drop an extra line down and run this wire that was 100 feet long across the yard to the shed. I took power cords, extension cords from the house out to the shed, and I put a bed in there after cleaning it out, and I put a desk in there, and you could not fit anything else. It was literally the wall, my desk, and then the bed, and that was all of the space. And I had my clothes in there. And basically, I just lived in the shed, and I loved it because whenever there was a gathering or people over and I wanted to escape and just go to bed or be by myself or whatever, I just went out back and could easily escape. So I was working out of a shed that had no insulation. In the summer, it would get 90 plus degrees in there. In the winter, it would get 30 degrees in there. I can remember wearing, 6 layers of clothes and shivering and having my fingers get frostbite as I'm live broadcasting and typing and trading. And in the summer, I can remember being naked and dripping sweat with fans blasting while the inside of this little shed cooked. So I just worked with what I had. And I'm a minimalist at this point. You can see by the curtains behind me. But it was exactly what I wanted to. Could I afford a house? Absolutely. Did I want to live in a house and leave this farm and leave the community? No. So I made sacrifices and said, of course, I'll sleep on a bed outside and have my own little office out there. And it was great. I absolutely loved it. It reached a point after a year and a half where it was like, all right, I don't want to do another winter through that. Definitely brutal. And so I did move on for the second winter, but I gave it a summer, a winter, and a summer, and had a lot of fun in that shed. There's the hot tub and my Christmas present. Had to give a whole bunch of pictures. My buddy's got me a lizard picture. But this hot tub is infamous for me, and I'll never forget it because I was sitting in that hot tub essentially what happened with cryptocurrency is I bought Ethereum and I bought a small position and said, all right, we're in blue sky breakout at $60. Let's see what's up. So I went inside and told my buddy, the other entrepreneur, hey, I bought my first cryptocurrency, Ethereum. The next day, he walks into the kitchen and says, I'm all in Ethereum. So apparently he spent all night researching it. And that's his style. And I was like, man, all right. And so I was sitting in the hot tub thinking about it. And I was like, all right, you know what? Let's go big. And so I increased my Ethereum position 1,000%, still all under $100. And obviously that worked out very, very well. But I was sitting in this hot tub when I had this epiphany. Like, it would just click like, yep, put your money in. You only live once. Worst case scenario, you'll take a loss and you'll be able to make it back trading stocks or what else. And fortunately, it worked out really well. So that's why I always am a proponent of hot tubs and bathtubs for sitting and thinking. Lots of good ideas have occurred in that hot tub and in bathtubs for me. So this is just more Art, another artist that stayed with us who was also a wonderful cook. Great to be able to just grow the food and spend a lot of time outside and come inside and have a big fresh meal of it cooked up and ready to go. But this is something that she did in collaboration with another artist on these big wood panels. So we had these spread out around the house as well. So here's me in the shed. There's my computer and my monitor, and there's George. He figured out where I lived, and I would give him snacks, and he would come hang out with me because the chickens wouldn't let him hang around, the roosters, and he didn't have any lady friends. So George and I hung out a lot, and I would feed him, and he'd jump into the shed and hang out with me. And then a snake fell through the roof. So this is a snake that is maybe 4 feet long. It's not poisonous. It's just a rat snake, big black. So it literally fell through the roof. And I was sitting there on my computer, and it fell through the roof probably 4 feet behind me. So I looked and saw where it was, and then I went inside to get, either a towel or whatever I needed to get this dude out of my shed. And I came back, and he was gone. So this snake was in my shed for over 6 weeks. And I knowingly slept in my shed, knowing that he was in there, because I didn't really care much. I knew he wasn't poisonous. So he was slithering along among my things, my clothes and my boxes, and I only found him because he ended up catching a mouse, and I heard that scuffle go down. And this is actually when I found him, he was climbing up the wall, and I said, all right, there you are, and grabbed him and put him back outside. But I just found it really funny because my personality, by now, I love camping and sleeping outside, and I don't care about material objects. I still have the same car, used car from 5 years ago that, I could very easily replace with a new car, but it works fine, so I don't need a new car. So I find it really funny. We had a client that I make personal videos for stock trading. This guy's trading with $20-30 million, and I'm giving him all these personal videos from a shed. And I just think it's so funny where, anybody from the outside who doesn't know my personality would think that I'm just, completely making up everything about stocks and trading, and I have no idea what I'm doing, and I'm poor, looking at my beat up car in my shed house. But in reality, it was just all by choice, and I would probably do it again, given the chance. And again, it was the people and the animals. The fact that I could just walk outside and be among all these plants and animals after being on the computer all day was a huge benefit to me to keep me sane from all this computer time and staring at the screen for so long. So I will never forget this shed, and it's a really funny story. So that's that. Let's check back in on Bitcoin after all that talking. Still resistance, still support, clear channel. And this channel is not a huge channel. It's only about $140. And we've been within it for a very long time, and we're going to see a break into tonight. And knowing the way things go after I post this video, we'll probably get a break within an hour. So again, look for that comment to make that comment on the SEC proposal. We're going to keep an eye on the ETFs. If you don't want regulation, that's fine. Feel free to voice your opinion, and I'm not going to agree with it, and that doesn't matter. And we'll see you tomorrow. I hope you all continue to do good things. Have a wonderful night. I shed secrets out.